35 years of my life. Our journey begins with this mug.
There's this microphone.
Whoa!
What's going on, guys? It's K-Dub here with another episode of Crypto Zombie. So it's Friday, it's the weekend, we made it, congratulations, welcome back to the channel. Can you believe that there's only 11 days left in the year? My goodness, it's about to be 2020. What a crazy ride it's been for everyone that stuck it out from the beginning to now. What an insane adventure. 2020 is going to be a very incredible year. Having a look at Bitcoin, though, we are up 0.36%. However, currently, we are going sideways right now, and, you know, some people are saying, are we going to put in a Bart Simpson? Something like that. Maybe, possibly. We're going to have a look at it. Essentially right here, you will notice though, unfortunately, we have been sort of wicking up to sort of lower high, lower high, lower high. And right now we are sitting exactly on the VPVR, the most accumulated level of this drop, potential double bottom reversal. Well, we're going to get into that very soon. And if that sounds good to you, well, you know what to do. Also, if you are not subscribed to the Crypto Zombie channel, we do this every single day. Every Monday, we do give away the Ledger Nano S. All you gotta do is drop a comment on any video and you are eligible. By the way, speaking of the fact that we are very, very close to the new year, I do want to talk about what to expect moving forward for Bitcoin, the space in general, possible trends, and of course, we are going to talk about price action, whether or not we are in a bear market or not, but Bitcoin is up to 68.4%, so looks like everybody kind of, you know, jumped ship from some of the altcoins into Bitcoin. However, today, we are seeing now some of the altcoins sort of springing back. Now, they're doing that because Bitcoin is going sideways. Keep in mind, if Bitcoin does have a massive move, well, that party could be over quite quick. However, look who is up top again, Matic, up 22%. So, I mean, I don't have to tell you guys what went on with Matic. Clearly, they had that pretty nasty dump, and now they are having a little bit of a spring back. We'll keep an eye on that. We have Decentralized, Bitcoin, Luna, IOST, Fetch, Crypterium, iExec, RLC, and 0x as well. Now, currently, as I said, we are sitting right here on the VPVR, which is essentially the most accumulated price for Bitcoin, you know, in this particular period of time. Now, I do want to just mention we are still in no man's land. We spoke about this a few days ago. Obviously, getting into this blue zone would be great, getting above that sort of $7,398 level. Once again, if we do fall below the 7K level, then we do risk falling back into the red zone, and I'm not sure if we'll put in the triple bottom this time. But, you know, we did get stomped out at around 6,431 last time, but like I said, guys, the level to get above for me is around that $7,400 level. Now, short term, we do have to get back up to the CME futures gap around 7,240, but you can see right here what's actually holding us down, once again, around the $7,400 level, is sort of this center trend to the actual descending wedge, right? So I would like to get above that, but keep in mind, guys, even if we were to get up to, you know, around $8,300, that still only puts us to the top of this channel. We do risk potentially falling down. So for me, the level that I'm really looking at is around that sort of $9,500 level. I know we're reaching here, but if we could get above that and out of this blue zone, you know, above sort of the basically like 10,000 even, that would be very good for Bitcoin. And of course, before we move on, we have to look at the CME futures chart. Whether or not you actually care about this chart, I'm telling you, it is a very important chart. You need to keep your eyes on it. For example, this crazy pump that we had here on October 25th, everybody was saying it was because of the president of China. Well, conveniently, it was also the absolute bottom for us touching the 200 daily moving average, which was sort of our last stance to keep it in bullish territory, right? So take it with a grain of salt. Let me know what you guys think, but I do consider this to be an important chart. Currently, we do have the 200 daily sitting at around 8,300. However, the level to get above is this green line right here. That is the 21 exponential on the daily. You can see it's clearly been holding us down right here. And if we get above that level, which is sitting around the $7,386 level, well, then that would be pretty decent short term. So it kind of looks like this 7.4K level is really the level to beat. But that being said, guys, I have one bit of news I want to go into, and then I have a little bit of a surprise for you. So definitely stick around for that. The good news, potential good news, is that a U.S. lawmaker has reportedly introduced a draft bill to bring regulatory clarity into the crypto sector. So obviously, if these guys didn't see the significance of it, they wouldn't be going to these lengths, right? So it is dubbed the Cryptocurrency Act of 2020, and it does seek to clarify which federal agencies should regulate speculate crypto. Now they've broken it down into 3 categories. So essentially we have crypto commodities, cryptocurrencies, and crypto securities. So they also provided definitions for what these are. A crypto commodity is an economic good or service. Cryptocurrency is a representation of US currency or synthetic derivatives resting on a blockchain. And finally, a crypto security, which I think we all know, on the other hand, means all debt, equity, and derivatives instrument that rest on the blockchain. But that being said, guys, that is not the surprise for today. We do have a buddy, a good old friend of mine, Alex from Nuggets News, back on the channel. Now, it was crazy because we streamed live on December 18th of 2018, damn near the bottom for Bitcoin, and everyone was capitulating. It was really great. Actually, I'll drop the video above if you guys want to watch it. But I decided, Alex, why don't we catch up again, have a discussion? Maybe we could be double bottoming right now. So guys, without further ado, we do have Alex from Nuggets News on the channel going into everything from crypto predictions, DeFi, DEXs, what to expect, what could the price of Bitcoin be, are we in a bull or a bear market, and more. And if that sounds good to you, well, you're definitely going to want to stick around for this one. Alex from Nuggets News, welcome back to the channel, my friend. It has been quite a long time. Actually, the last time we had you on the channel was on not only your birthday, but it was damn near the bottom of the Bitcoin market. So how have you been since then, man?
Pretty busy trying to survive this second crypto winter after we had, I guess, one mini pump during the year, in which we might talk about as well. But other than that, it feels like we've kind of gone back into this crypto winter. So maybe, hopefully, we've found a bottom again on my birthday this year.
We seem to just be going into the winter, actually during the winter. I don't know how it is for you, but it is freezing where I'm at right now. It's literally like below freezing. There's ice outside. So it just, I'm getting a little annoyed with this happening around these same times. But I wanted to ask you, that's a great point you already brought up. You were like the pump in the bear market. So it's kind of making me feel like you are still of the belief that we are still technically in a bear market. Is that how you're still viewing this?
Yeah, for sure. When you look back on it now and you look at the charts and you sort of compare it to the 2014-15 crypto winter, that was like a really tough 2 years. If you take out that pump when everyone was short and then we had a bit of a short squeeze, and next thing you know, everyone was FOMOing and thinking, you know, the bull market's back on, we go up to 14,000 and then that starts to unwind. If you take out that big pump and retrace, it's almost like we have had that 2-year crypto winter now, and I think we are coming out of it into the halving and whatnot, which I'm sure we'll get to.
And what's your opinion on it? Because now you got in what was it, 2012, 2013?
2012, yeah.
2012. So, I mean, you've been in this for quite some time. Now, I want to ask you, before we get into like the big questions, and by the way, guys, we're going to get into everything, so definitely stick around. Alex knows what he's talking about. This guy's got a lot of intelligence. We're going to pick his brain. But as far as the way that it feels, I mean, with all the difference, you know, now you got futures happening, CME backed, ErisX just launched their derivatives as well. I mean, do you feel like it's just a totally different landscape? Because, you know, all the technicals, they're not playing out. The moving averages are not supporting us. It's like a completely different ballgame this time around. Is it because we're maturing? What are your thoughts on this market?
Yeah, I definitely agree that all the cash settled market and the futures, and even the way the backed went from their backed contracts to the cash settled, I think that's all a massive distraction, and they're trying to use that like a black hole to soak up all this money that doesn't actually go into real Bitcoin. So that's kind of something that I don't like about where the market's gone. And the other thing is all the 100x and the platforms, all that trading has become a big part of the space as well, which is fine, but it adds to the volatility. So when everyone's trying to work out, you know, price discovery in the charts, it very quickly can go $1,000, $2,000 up or down from what might be, you know, fair value. And stocks and, you know, the bigger markets just don't really do that. But it's perfectly normal in crypto for these big whales to push the price around big time.
I mean, but like, in your opinion, do you feel that it was inevitable? I mean, if you wanted to really get Bitcoin out to the level that everyone talked about, didn't you kind of have to have this happen to it, you know, for better or for worse?
Yeah, to some degree. But again, we've probably gone full circle with something like the gold market, where it's had all these products. And I think at some stage it's going to sort of break those shackles, particularly when you can go down the rabbit hole as much as you want with the conspiracy theories. But I definitely feel that the demand for real gold is starting to increase to a point where people, US and China and Russia, they're not going to play this game where the US and these ETFs get to determine what's going on globally. If everyone else wants real gold and there's not enough, I think those products are going to break pretty quickly.
You see that eventually being a future for Bitcoin as well, where even with all these futures, like actually holding the underlying asset will be appealing to the masses?
Oh yeah, if Bitcoin wins and it gets this global adoption where the billion unbanked people are using Bitcoin on their smartphones, and if all that happens, then it really doesn't matter what happens in the US stock market. 6 hours a day, closed on weekends. They're just not going to be able to keep up with what's happening in the real world with the real demand for Bitcoin.
I hate the fact that we have the CMEs and we have that damn gap that's got to get closed every Monday. Like, that drives me nuts, or every night when it ends. You know what I'm saying? And it's just like, that's aggravating, because the Bitcoin market is really technically a 24/7 market. It doesn't actually ever sleep, but then you'd have these products like shutting it off at night, and then the next morning everybody's trying to go back to fill these gaps, and it's just like craziness. So now I think personally, I really feel 2019 was, I do believe it was the year for sort of Bitcoin. I think a lot of these altcoins, in a way, they really didn't live up to the promises and the expectations. However, one thing that did sort of come out of it was the whole DeFi space. And I know you've been really, really massively big into that. So I wanted to kind of talk about some future projections, right? Things that you've been looking into that you think for 2020 are going to be like, this year it was kind of like, okay, we had Bitcoin, we had like the futures, and then we sort of had the DeFi. But what do you think next year is going to bring? What do you see as like the hot topics?
Yeah, so I think I tend to agree. This was the year that people maybe realized the importance of Bitcoin, and that a lot of these alts, unless they have a real use and whatnot, it's going to be pretty tough work for them. So we were always sort of proponents of the decentralized things that needed to be decentralized. And a lot of those have now developed products like Maker, Synthetics, these projects, particularly in this world of negative interest rates. The fact that you can get that yield, that earning of coins, I think that's another big theme that's going to continue. Because if we get a really friendly app where people don't have to know how to use MetaMask and sign up to this, and should I trust this smart contract, or should I trust this company to earn my 10%? Once that's just like a friendly phone app, and you can either choose to earn 10% a year in that, or 0% a year in your bank account, I think that becomes a bit of a no-brainer for people. And that all increases the demand for like make or die. And then we need Ethereum backing that. Synthetics is the other project that's doing a lot of that type of thing. And just the demand for Ethereum that underlies all these protocols, I'm actually a bit surprised that ETH is so low compared to a lot of other projects.
It is weird. It's down like 50% in a time when Bitcoin only fell 30% recently. It was right around the $180 mark or so. But yeah, that is strange to me. I think a lot of people, though, are freaking out because the Plus token, now they know they got ETH. So now they're worried that they're going to dump the ETH. So there might be some skeptical traders front running that dump just because they want to get out of it. That's a possibility. It's a theory. We don't really know for sure until we look at the chain analysis. But that is one thing for sure. Now, the last time that we were on the channel, we were talking about the same thing, the ease of use, getting your grandma to be able to use it. I do think we've progressed, but I wish we kind of progressed a little faster. But maybe that's just me being in crypto and having the attention span of a goldfish. Could be. But like, for example, some of the things that we were discussing was like NFTs, non-fungible tokens, and games and things like that. Do you still feel the same way that you felt about that a year ago? Do you still feel that gaming could potentially still be a big gateway for crypto?
Yeah, absolutely. So there was a little Australian project that we had on the channel at the start of the year called Gods Unchained.
Yes, very
and
familiar.
all of a sudden they've just absolutely exploded globally. People are paying $30,000 for a card. So the other thing that we should mention with that is that they're using scaling techniques on Ethereum to do hundreds of transactions, thousands of transactions on kind of these side chains or second layers. And we're kind of showing that it is possible. When everyone says Ethereum can't scale and blah, 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 there's a lot of projects now that have sorted out their sort of layer 2 stuff, and that it's working just fine with Ethereum the way it is.
Yeah, I mean, despite the Matic dump, it still works. It just lost a lot of value. But I want to talk about that Matic dump because I think it's things like that. It's bad enough that you see Bitcoin having these 50% dumps like we did at the end of 2017 and 2018, right? November it was.
Yeah.
Or was it? No, it's 2018 and 2019. Yes. Am I getting my years screwed up, or what year was it? November?
The big dump was November 18, yeah.
Yes, thank you. Jeez, God, guys, I need to get away from crypto. But so what I was saying was the fact that we could have a 50% dump in Bitcoin, and you're seeing these altcoins, that's crazy. It's very scary to a lot of people. And, you did bring up the leverage future thing, and it's been a tough tough topic for sure, whether or not, because you hear some people saying it's the devil, it's ruining everything, and then other people saying, what are you talking about? This is totally healthy. It's necessary, right? I have to say that I can only agree on one point, and that's as far as Bitcoin, like being the super liquid one. You want to margin trade, you want to leverage trade Bitcoin, fine, whatever. But I mean, when you're looking at like these, no offense to these guys, but these like shit coins that there's not enough liquidity. I saw KuCoin, they came out. Now they're only doing 10x, but I mean, I don't know. What's your opinion on that with these lower liquidity? I mean, Ethereum's only like what, 20% of the liquidity of Bitcoin? It's crazy.
Yeah, so I definitely think that the big whales, you can't take meaningful positions in anything other than Bitcoin, really. And it's definitely dangerous having this high leverage on these low market cap coins. And if you know what you're doing, you're an experienced trader, then I definitely think there's opportunity to be had. A lot of people made money shorting Matic, but also what that shows you is that the run that Matic had was based off a lot of hype. And I'm always super cautious on these coins that, Binance get behind and the market makers, and they get out there and they do the advertising and marketing, which is fine because they need to get their name out there. But when you see that just huge move, hundreds of %, and the chart looks like that, you're thinking, is this really, people going to scoop in and buy this if it's down 50%, or could it go down 90%? And I know we're talking in the pre-interview about both of us looked at that chart and something.
Oh yeah, I publicly said on the channel. I mean, I told them, I was like, this is crazy. I told them publicly I had to take a profit, and 5 days later or a few days later, that's when the dump came. I mean, hindsight 2020, but man, it's just like, in a time when nothing is thriving. Everything was falling. And this thing's just going up and up and up and up and up, and it's like, all right, man, something's up. Kind of like those Bitfinex longs that just keep going up and up and up, and everyone's like, what's going on with those? Now, I wanted to just kind of switch, because we talk about this a lot on the channel, but one thing I was thinking is, like, remember how hot of a topic DEXs were? Decentralized exchanges? What happened? Where'd they go? Did everybody get scared because the SEC came in, or do you think we'll ever get a true DEX, or...
I think if you look under the hood, this was a year where Kyber and Uniswap, again, Ethereum, I call them like the boring projects, but I love boring projects.
By the way, I didn't mean to say like get a DEX. I know Binance, we have them. I mean to like massive users using it is what I'm saying.
Yeah, and at the moment, I think, the Lego analogy where all these Ethereum dApps are starting to build and connect to each other. So I actually see that there's been a lot of use case there with getting all that liquidity and pulling from each other in different projects. And a lot of it's happening around Maker and the main Ethereum sort of projects and pools. But I think it's definitely, someone did a video last week about how quick it was to change from one coin to another on like Binance versus Kyber. And once you've got your wallet set up and that, you don't want the KYC, you don't want to wait for the deposit to be pending and get it actually is a way better process these days using a DEX once you know what you're doing and you can plug straight in from your ledger.
Mm-hmm. And are you guys is anybody worried about all the different stuff with the AMLs now? You have that fifth AML thing or whatever that was. Everyone was, freaking out about that from over in Europe. What are your thoughts about the regulation and stuff? I mean, is it going to get to the point where it's like all these coins are essentially going to get crushed? Like they're basically just going to call them majority securities. And I mean, how do we actually take this to the next level? Because, this whole year, I don't know, man. Like, I'm not sure where did we actually progress? Or was it just a year of fixing stuff we screwed up? I don't know really what the theme of 2019 was.
I think it's just the transition away from 2018 or even 2017 was that year about coins that got on the best exchange and had the best hype around them. And all that is slowly being eroded, and Binance can't pump the coins as much anymore, and they're having to delist coins, and then they're having to do Binance US, and they can't list certain coins. So I think it's just this transition to, well, if a token is being used and it's making progress, that is what's going to pump prices in future. And people want the privacy as well. So we are going to see more volume and liquidity going through DEXs, because a lot of people don't want everything they're doing tracked. And I think that privacy is probably one of the biggest topics of 2020 as well. We're seeing privacy coins being delisted. Ethereum's already got some privacy techniques happening, and they're talking about these on Bitcoin as well. And that's where all these regulations coming in. Regulators are going to say, well, hold on, Bitcoin and Ethereum are now private. How do we track all this? And so people are going to want to use non-KYC exchanges more. and they're going to want their privacy.
Yeah, I just read an article about Snowball, which is essentially this sort of privacy network that was inspired by the Hong Kong protests because they were all using Bluetooth and they were able to circumvent, the internet. So now that this guy, I forget his name, he's looking to sort of do like Bluetooth privacy, and sort of use coin join techniques, but with Bluetooth. And, that's what I'm saying as well, because Bitcoin is going to get privacy eventually. Bitcoin is going to get I don't know if it's the lightning, whatever it is, it's eventually going to get that second layer. I mean, what are we doing right now? We're talking on the internet, right? Isn't that just TCP IP essentially, right? But like all the layers that were built on top of it, and now look at what we're doing. So for everyone that says, oh, Bitcoin, this is too slow, it's like, guys, you need the foundation to be strong. Listen, if you're going to send $1 million on the blockchain, let's be honest, man, Bitcoin is probably the one you're going to want to use. I don't mind waiting the 7 to 10 minutes, That's just my opinion, though. You could, maybe you want to use Nano. I don't know. That's you. That's up to you.
Yeah, and if you look at what's happening globally with this, the yellow vest protests, and all of a sudden it's in Chile, and then in Greece they're being told they have to spend 30%. I think that global movement of people that are really unhappy with what politicians are doing and taxes, and in Hong Kong, as you say, it's really important for them to remain private. And if they're phasing out cash, they're going to have to use something like Bitcoin. So around the world, not so much in Australia or the US, but I just see that Bitcoin is part of this grander social movement of people away from power.
Or stable coins. They could use stable coins as well, but even those are they're not sure about those, who has the power, who controls what. I mean, you saw the whole Libra thing. Everybody watched that. And I actually love that. That was great, by the way, because it was the first time when finally Congress was like, actually, Bitcoin's not that bad, but this Libra thing, we need to, and that was the first time when I feel like they kind of woke up to oh crap, the decentralized nature of Bitcoin is actually not that bad. You could have Mark Zuckerberg shutting off your wallet because, he didn't like what you purchased, essentially, which is not cool. It's not a problem. But actually, this leads me into something. I wanted to discuss, this is something very, very big because we have $400 billion getting pumped in potentially by February by the good old Fed in the US of A. And I know that you've been covering a lot on Australian housing, but you know a lot particularly about the Fed and the repo markets. And that was one of the main reasons, too, I want to do on the channel. Can you just let my viewers know, what is going on with that? Because some people don't know if it's good or bad for Bitcoin. And I want your take on that.
So I think, again, another theme of 2019, when we look back, it will be the year that central banks around the world, particularly the US, they did a backflip. They went from saying that everything's great and we're about to start growing again and jobs are going to come and, we're this launch ramp now that we've been printing money for 10 years and we're going to let the economy...
Yes, stock markets are at the all-time high, but where'd the money come from? It's all just borrowed. It's not, none of it's real, It's Anyway.
So they did those really aggressive rate hikes, and then they said we're going to stop printing money. We're actually going to unwind it. We're going to do the opposite, and we're going to sell those back into the market. And within a month or so, the stocks were crashing. The market just couldn't absorb it. And what it shows you is that it's like margin trading. Everyone has their books and their collateral tied up. They've got it. They're putting it to work because you can't get a yield anywhere and earn interest. Every last dollar that banks have got is going into trying to buy bonds or speculate. And now the Fed have removed all that extra money and liquidity, and they're relying on the banks to lend that money. And the banks saying, we don't have any spare money. And all of a sudden you see this huge spike where everyone's going, well, it's the same as margin trading. It gets really expensive to try and borrow money because no one's got any spare money. And so what that showed is that there's a gaping hole from that $600 billion or whatever the Fed removed. And now they're having to try and patch that hole. And then banks are having to roll over, everything that they've got that they owe at the end of the year. And now there's another hole. So it's like there's all these holes in the side of the boat, and they're running out of hands. And it's 40 billion tonight. Oh, 100 billion for the next 2 weeks there. We're going to commit 500 billion. And remember, the bailouts in the GFC that were global headlines were $700 billion. And that had never been done before. And here we are talking about 500 billion in a month. And the Fed are trying to say it's nothing. And what they're scared of is the word QE4. So as soon as that word is global headlines and the Fed are doing QE4, global markets, the cat's out of the bag. that it's back on. It's money printing time. And that's
Well,
when gold and Bitcoin.
you have like these different opinions, though, on whether or not it would be a good thing or a bad thing. You got some people like Tom Lee talking about like, oh, the stocks have to go up. The S&P 500 always leads the way, and then it's Bitcoin. And you have other people talking about like, it's a non-correlated asymmetric asset, right? That's what Pomp would say. And then on the third hand, you also have the talk of the impending financial global recession and Bitcoin being a safe haven asset. It's only been around for 10 years. Do you really think that something as volatile as Bitcoin, the majority, the average person would be like, you know what, you're right, I'm going to just dump it all into Bitcoin? Like, do you think they'd have the confidence to do that? Or would it even work that way? Do you think it would?
So no. So in a stock market crash scenario like 2008, then everything will sell off. Gold, Bitcoin, people just get that scramble for liquidity where they need every dollar they can, just like we were talking about. But if we have this kind of slow scenario unfold where it's becoming very clear that the Fed need to print money and that Europe are going to start QE again, Australia are talking about doing QE, then they're going to print money and it's going to go into stocks and housing and they're going to try and make people feel rich. But people are starting to wake up to this. This is not helping them. And this is where the inequality and the yellow vests and protests start. And that's where people are going to demand people's QE. So I don't know if it's universal basic income or just some big handouts or more tax cuts, but I don't think it's going to fly this time. We saw Occupy Wall Street 10 years ago. I think it's going to be Occupy Wall Street on steroids this time around. But either way, as long as they're printing money, and that's their technique to try and patch these holes, it's very, very good for Bitcoin and gold.
I think that people are waking up. I think people, you hear a lot of boomers jabbing at the millennials, right? Like whatever. We're all just spoiled and we've had everything handed to us, although not really, but okay. But I do think that we as a generation, like, we have trust issues. I have trust issues. I've had trust issues since I was a kid because all the people I saw what happened to my dad. I saw what happened to my grandpa. My grandpa was one of the first people to get laid off in IBM when he got replaced by the machines, literally, like Terminator style, Yeah. And then, you saw the 2008 financial crisis. You've seen what these politicians have done. And it's not like back in the day where like they can just sweep it under the rug. I mean, social media, that stuff is out there like that, which is also bad because there's a lot of fake news. So you got to be careful. But I just think we just don't trust these guys. We don't trust the legacy system. We don't trust the politicians, and like for me, I was like, well, let's see. I can put my money in like a censorship resistant, non-correlated asymmetric asset that is mine, or I can put my money in the bank account. And as soon as the bank has even the hunch of a suspicion that I might be doing something, whether or not I am, all my funds get frozen. And that's happened to my dad before, He's an honest blue-collar working man, but, he had some difficulty paying some stuff. They froze a couple accounts, and it, like, screwed up his whole business. They actually made it even harder on him. And that's why I said to myself, I love the concept. I put it on my ledger, right? I didn't have to take my ledger with me. I could just leave it here, get on a plane, go to another country, get my private keys, and boom, there's my money. I mean, that's amazing, bro. Like, I don't think that'll ever not be amazing,
Oh yeah, and that in itself is going to continue to get better. So it's still pretty hard to set up a ledger if you don't know what you're doing. Okay. So I think in future we're going to have even better and better user experiences. And for some people, someone else holding their private key and giving that trust to someone else, unfortunately, that's always going to be their best option. So hopefully we can build out some good sort of decentralized versions of Coinbase and that sort of thing, where there's a backup and multiple keys to unlock your funds. But right. I think we're going to be looking at things like private key generation from an image. So you might have a photo on the wall at home, and you can take a photo of that photo, and whatever the image is, that'll go through an algorithm and that'll generate your private key. But no one else in the world will know what image or what style or words or how you generated your private key, but you'll know that. So those type of techniques are going to be very cool going forward. That's
really awesome, and it is scary though to think like even with like, facial recognition, that worked for a while, but then now you got these guys that they figured out ways to break through it now, right? So, I do worry about that, but you're right, because even a guy like me, I mean, I've been doing it. I've had a crypto channel for 2 years. I've been doing crypto for over 2 years. And I still lose my passwords every once in a while, not my private keys, but what I'm trying to say is the average person, they do need that. Not everybody is ready to be their own own bank. In fact, most people don't have time. That's why they have a bank, you know? So it is hard. And when you look at the people that are in crypto right now, we're a very special group of people. I feel like we're a very niche group of people. It's a shame that we can't all get along a little better, because really we're such a small group to begin with. But trying to get the other 99 whatever 0.5% of the world that has yet to touch crypto, I mean, you're going to need more than just, you know, the libertarian talk. You know, you have to build something that's actually not only good but better. It actually has to be better, unfortunately.
Yeah.
And that's
we had a really interesting guest on the other day talking about gold and silver and whether it's manipulated, but talking about how it played out in the GFC and how gold and silver sort of skyrocketed over the past 10 or 20 years. And he said it was very clear where you'd see these new waves of people. And as you say, you've got this scale of people that are just stock market bulls, and you've got the libertarians and cypherpunks over here. And gradually, when, you know, Lehman Brothers went under, and, you know, Fannie and Freddie Mae, and then the bailouts, he said every day when there was a big news headline, you'd sort of get, you know, a new group of people, and you'd move further along that scale into normal everyday people that wouldn't have never have cared about this stuff. All of a sudden they were ringing up saying, you know, I want to put all my money in gold and protect my assets. And he sort of says that that's going to be a similar thing again. It's a slow process. You know, it might be a month between these big announcements as we go through this next recession or whatnot, but more and more people will wake up and they lose their job. What are they doing? They're sitting at home on YouTube saying, why did I lose my job? What's a recession? They start to watch all the documentaries and they just go on that journey.
Yeah, man, it's very real. It's very serious. And, you know, maybe some people watching, I don't know how old you are. Some people, maybe they don't remember 2008. Some people might remember it very well. But inevitably, yeah, I mean, I think at some point the what's going to hit the fan, and we're going to, I mean, listen, I'm hedged into Bitcoin. This is, for me, this is my protection. You know what I'm saying? This is what I've chosen to do. Other people may have other decisions. And another big topic, while we're on the subject, is Bitcoin is the king, right? Some people say for now. What are your thoughts on that? Because realistically, yes, look, there are coins out there that are faster. You can build things on them, right? But what is your thought on that? I mean, do you think, like, should we kind of forget this Bitcoin thing and work on something else? I mean, I personally don't, but am I romanticizing the idea of it? Am I not being logical? What do you think?
I just think the network effects are the most powerful thing. So the history, the track record, how ingrained it is, the brand name, all those things are very, very hard to replace or for something else to overtake it. So yes, the white paper said peer-to-peer cash, and that's still hopefully an important aspect that we get to, really good functioning of that again. But you don't know when you write a new technology 10 years ago, you don't know that was the best use case. Maybe the world needs sound money, a digital gold, because of negative interest rates and money printing and what's happening in Venezuela and all these countries. Maybe the world needs a digital gold more than it needs a new payment system at the moment. And, you know, who are we to argue? Yeah.
Well, here's the thing, man. Okay, here's the thing. This is like the example I give everybody, and we'll use like a big amount. So it's if you use a small amount, nobody cares. So let's say I give you $1,000 in cash, right? And I give you $1,000 in Bitcoin, right? This is very hypothetical, guys. This would never happen. And then I send you to the grocery store and I give you a list of exactly $1,000 worth of goods to buy, and I tell you that the merchant will accept either of them. Which one would you give the merchant, and why? Right? You'd give him the cash, not the Bitcoin.
Exactly.
And inherently, Gersham's law, because you know damn well that paper's not worth anything intrinsically. So when, you know, sometimes I hear the argument, oh, we need to be spending it. We need to be spending it. That's how we get adoption. But I don't want to buy a cup of coffee with Bitcoin. I want to buy a cup of coffee with fiat, with paper. I don't want to buy a cup of coffee with my precious Bitcoin that's going to be worth 10x, in a couple of years, right?
That's definitely a problem. And some of these stable coins that are backed by other assets, like Maker uses Ethereum to back it. That's where I think that side of things becomes really important. And we might see Bitcoin being used more as collateral to back other stable things going forward. So, I definitely think that there's a lot of people using Maker DAI and these stable coins in different countries because they don't want the volatility of the crypto.
Right, and volatility is a big problem. It's not realistic for people to be able to do. Even with, ETH, Vitalik came out, he said ETH is money. I agree, yeah, but it's also very volatile. So yeah, I mean, that's basically that situation. But so Alex, man, we've been talking for a while. Everybody out there, by the way, we're just having a fun Friday show over here. We're just chilling. We are just hanging out. But Alex, do you have anything that you think absolutely we gotta talk about? We gotta mention anything you think we should say?
I think the other thing I sort of had on my list was the government stable coins. So
Yeah.
China, Eurochain, or whatever it's called, coming out. Like, these are totally totalitarian, scary, or authoritarian in regimes. Like, they're gonna. If you thought banning cash was bad, like, you're not going to be able to do anything without being tracked. Now, we all worry about that and think that, oh, that's bad for Bitcoin. But think about the banks. These are the guys that are laundering money, corporations hiding money in offshore accounts.
Wow.
So
Good
if
point.
they have to use Eurochain, they're the ones that should be worried that governments are going to be able to track everything the rich and powerful are doing. And Bitcoin's this sort of microcosm off to the side that, if anything, the banks and that are probably going to come and use more cryptocurrencies because they don't want the governments monitoring them. They want their privacy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it's they're gonna shoot themselves in the foot in a way. It's like, you're trying to spy on the civilians, but at the same time, like, don't forget, you guys also use that to launder as well. So, I mean, unless they figure out a new way to do it, I'm sure they will, though. Like, these guys, they'll get whatever they want to get done ultimately. But I think for the average person, I think, Bitcoin is still the way. And one thing really, two things actually before we go. One, I wanted to ask you about, like, we were talking about the whole, so you were talking about how gold, there was a lot of paper gold. There still is a lot of paper gold currently. But then the actual value for gold, people went back to that again. So I just wanted to clarify, you do feel that way for Bitcoin, because, you saw back kind of pulling the wool over our eyes with the cash settled. It was like, where'd this come from? I thought, I feel kind of fooled. I feel like I got tricked a little bit.
I absolutely hate all the cash settled products, and the fact that they're trying to funnel the people in. That's what Wall Street do, because they make money off fees and holding it. And there's not even any Bitcoin that they're holding for people, but that's how Wall Street make all their money. They don't take any risks. They don't care if Bitcoin goes up or down. They funnel people and redirect money that would have gone into Bitcoin, increase the market cap, into these cash settled products. So,
and they never even touch a Bitcoin, which is just, I mean, to me, I know like we said, we knew it was going to happen either way, but that is that situation. So leading into the halving, I'm not going to ask you for a prediction because nobody knows, but what are you thinking generally? You can give a price prediction, you don't have to, but what do you see leading up Bitcoin wise with the halving? And you think we'll kind of react the same way, or it's just too much anticipation that maybe we'll be disappointed? What do you think?
Well, at the moment, because there's no noobs entering this space and new money, that everyone that's kind of in the space has been in the space for like 2 years now.
Mm-hmm.
So everyone's pretty much aware of it, but it's not really getting priced in now because of the doom and gloom. And I think the plus tokens and scams selling recently has put a lot of downward pressure on the price. But if we start to take off, it can very quickly build a narrative in the whales and the margin traders. If they want to build this another fake pump leading into the halving, where people are going, the halving's here, we've been through 2 years, crypto winter, it's on now, next stop 100K. That can very much lead to some sort of priced in early, and then it tanks again and people are left holding bags around the halving. So I just think it's going to be not what everyone's expecting and very different to the two previous halvings.
Do you think we're going to fall, I mean, like lower than some, I mean, we're not going to go, I mean, what do you think? Like lower than 3.2? I mean, that's crazy, because then we're changing the whole structure will change. You know what I mean? Like, we've had this nice sort of logarithmic higher low thing going on for so long now. I mean, it is getting a little, it's kind of starting to, veer like this. But I mean, do you think at some point that's going to, because I mean, think about like the market cap is so low still. Like when you think about it, like we're sitting here acting like, well, guys, it's been a great ride. We're at the end of the trail. It's like, dude, like it's been 10 years. Gold's been around for 5,000. Like to throw in the towel this early on Bitcoin is like crazy to give up on it.
I think it doesn't matter. Like, to me, Bitcoin is going to continue to increase in the number of people using it and global adoption. That is just a matter of time. As long as people have smartphones and the internet, banks aren't going through Africa anytime soon. So he's going to increase. And I think that directly leads to an increase in price and market cap as more people use it. Now, that process can be greatly accelerated if we have the QEs and money printing in Western nations where there's a lot of money, like trillions of dollars, because that's only got to go a tiny bit into Bitcoin and price starts to explode. So that's why they're trying to create these second fake funnels to funnel all that money in. So it doesn't really matter to me if Bitcoin has a double bottom at 3,000, because in 2021, 2022, we'll enter the next bull market, whenever it is. And when you, in 5-10 years time, when we're looking at our $100,000 Bitcoin, it doesn't really matter what happened on that log chart, or that if the 2 years turned into 3 years and whatnot. Mm-hmm. It's just all a little blip on that log chart.
It's hard for people to see the longer picture, though. Everybody wants to get rich quick overnight, you know. And that is unfortunately the most attractive part about Bitcoin is the price. Most people, and think about it, like the 2017, retail speculative bubble. That wasn't really a bubble that came out of need. That wasn't like people in countries that were like, oh, we need Bitcoin, so we're buying it out of desperation. That was pure speculation. So I'm actually curious to see what Bitcoin will do in a situation that actually is from real demand, from real people using it for real world needs. Like, because I need Bitcoin because my state, my state money sucks. It drops 10% every time I look at it, like it's down 99% in the past, couple of years. So I'm curious to see what that happens. And I think that between me and you, I think that the retail speculation is nothing compared to what we're going to see with the actual adoption, with the real adoption. I think that's going to be massive.
Yeah, and when I say $100,000 Bitcoin, everyone says, "Oh, geez, I'll be rich. I'm hodling since 6K or wherever I bought." But trust me, like you'll get thrown off the horse and cart by whales, traders, volatility. Your $30,000 Bitcoin will fall down to 10, and you'll think it's over, and you'll sell. It is not easy. Like I've watched my $50 Bitcoin go to $1,000 and back to 50. I've watched it go to 20,000 down to 3,000. You take your profits and have your trading account and whatnot, but really, you've got to hodl for the long term.
Can I stress that even more? I mean, look, we talk on the channel, we look at charts, we talk about trading, but I really do want to stress once again to everybody out there, like you guys know, like I don't give signals on this channel. I mean, yes, we do trading, but it's more of looking for setups. You wait for like a good bounce off of support, trying to trade all day in this muddy choppiness, you're just going to get wrecked. And I can't imagine spending, a year, 2 years in crypto just to trade it all away, and the other thing too is like, let's be honest, eventually these guys are going to like the institutions, whoever that are shorting Bitcoin, eventually it's not going to be profitable. It won't make sense to keep shorting, well, I mean, I'm making a really extreme exaggeration here, but imagine if you had 20,000 Bitcoin, right? And you short Bitcoin to $1. You got $20,000. So you got the equivalent of one Bitcoin at the all-time high. It doesn't make sense at that point. So I do think they will get tired. I do think that the hodlers will eventually, create that floor. But as you said, I agree. I think that we're in a new territory. I think there's a lot of new players, lots of new manipulation. They're not going to play the same game twice. We already saw those charts. Why would you do it again? So I think that the name of the game, like you said, is to take as much of your Bitcoin as possible. And for everyone that's watching, stop freaking selling it to them. And that's where
if I could give everyone one tip at home, whether you want the stock market to crash or you think that's going to happen, or you want gold to explode or Bitcoin to explode, go to a chart and, get out your drawing lines and put on that price where you want it to be next year or the year after. And then zoom out a bit more and have a look at the next 5-10 years. What's going to happen? If you think the stock market's going to crash 90% next year, well, what's it going to do the following year? Is everyone just going to walk around with pitchforks and no one's going to get a job? And entrepreneurs aren't going to start new businesses? People have these ideologies, but you have to be realistic what the chart is and what the world is going to look like. Every year things are going to happen.
Definitely not a one-trick pony for sure. So thank you so much. I do appreciate Alex, Nuggets News. Guys, if you haven't checked out Nuggets News, what are you waiting for? This guy's freaking awesome. I mean, I know we have fun on the channel, but I mean, you're going to learn like 10 times the amount of info in one of his videos. Plethora of knowledge, been in the space for a while. Thank you so much, man. I really appreciate it. Awesome chat on a Friday. Definitely appreciate it.
Thanks so much for having me, K-Dub, and well done. As I said, last time we spoke, you must have like tripled in size. It's been awesome.
Oh my goodness, it's been tiring. I'll tell you that. It's been exhausting. Man, we went from 2K to 20K to 3K to 14K to 6. Man, I don't care, man. It's a roller coaster. So thanks so much, Alex. Definitely appreciate you stopping by. And for everyone out there, make sure if you're not subscribed, I will drop the link below. Check out Nuggets News. So thank you so much. If you stuck around all the way to the end, you are a trooper. I know this was quite a long video. I hope you did find some value out of it. Definitely check out Nuggets News. And friendly reminder, guys, if you're not subscribed, get subscribed and definitely drop a comment if you are interested in the Ledger Nano S. But that being said, that is definitely it for me today, guys. Enjoy your freaking weekend. I love you. You're the reason that I do this every single day. My name is K-Dub. This is Crypto Zombie. Until next time, stay crypto and peace out.